You were outside. Everything was normal. A chickadee was cracking a sunflower seed on the feeder rail. A cardinal was low in the viburnum. Two titmice were bouncing from branch to branch like nothing in the world was wrong. And then nothing. The feeder emptied. The branches stopped moving. The yard went flat and still, like the whole place had taken one breath and refused to let it out. No warning, no slow fade, just a sudden disappearance, and you felt it before you understood it. Something in your chest told you that the birds knew something you did not. You were right. Welcome back to Backyard Bird Whispers. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, because what you're about to learn will change the way you look at every bird that visits your yard. Because when the birds vanish before a storm, they are not guessing. They are reading the sky with organs you cannot feel, sounds you cannot hear, and signals your body was never built to notice. That retreat has a name, it has a cause. And once you understand what is actually happening inside an 11-gram chickadee, a bird lighter than 2 nickels, you will never watch your feeder empty again without knowing exactly what the flock is telling you. Today we're breaking down 7 reasons why every bird in your yard vanishes at once before bad weather. What each one means, what's triggering it, and what you should do when it happens. Some of these will surprise you. One of them will stop you cold. Stay with me until the end, because the last one is the warning most people never realize they were given. This is the most common reason and the most immediate. Number 1, they feel the air pressure drop before you feel anything at all. Birds do not need a weather app. They carry one inside their head. Deep in the inner ear, there is a tiny pressure-sensing structure called the vitali organ. Think of it like a built-in storm button, tucked beside the same system that helps a bird balance on a twig thinner than a pencil. According to research published in the Journal of Experimental Biology, this organ can detect changes in barometric pressure as small as 1 hectopascal. That is not dramatic to us. You would not feel that while walking to the mailbox, but to a chickadee it is a red light flashing. The air gets heavier in a way its body can measure. The sky begins to lean. The storm is still out of sight, but the bird has already received the message. And this is where the behavior changes. The bird does not panic, it loads fuel. It starts feeding with a strange urgency, packing calories into a body so small that a single cold, wet afternoon can become dangerous. Then, almost without drama, it leaves the open feeder and slips into dense cover. A holly bush, a cedar thicket, a tree cavity, the protected side of your shed. That tiny movement from feeder to shelter is not fear. It is intelligence in motion. The bird has chosen safety before the storm has even introduced itself. So when your feeder goes from crowded to empty in minutes, do not only look at the sky, watch the edges, check the shrubs, look under the lowest evergreen branches. The flock may not be gone, they may be using your yard as a shield. Most people think of storm warnings as something that comes from a phone. Number 2, they hear the storm before the human ear even knows there is a sound. Most people think silence means nothing is happening. But in a bird's world, silence can mean too much is happening. Storm systems throw out deep sound waves called infrasound. That means sound below 20 hertz, so low your ears cannot grab it. Imagine thunder with the volume turned so far down that your body misses it completely, but the ground and air are still carrying the message. Birds are tuned differently. Research connected to the University of California has shown that birds can respond to storm-generated infrasound, traveling far ahead of the actual weather. The storm may still be hundreds of miles away, but the acoustic energy is already moving through the air like a dark rope being dragged across the landscape. And your backyard birds hear the pull. They do not need lightning. They do not need rain. They do not need the first cold drop to hit the bird bath. A titmouse on a maple branch can detect that deep pressure of sound long before your yard looks dangerous. A cardinal under the hedge can stop feeding because the air itself has started carrying a warning. This is why the silence feels so strange. The birds are not reacting to what you see. They are reacting to what you cannot receive. And sometimes the smallest clue is a tiny pause. A chickadee lands on the feeder, grips the metal edge, and does not peck. It just freezes. That stillness is not empty. That stillness is the bird asking the sky one question: is it time to leave? And when the answer comes back yes, the whole yard seems to vanish at once. This one surprises people, but it shouldn't. Number 3, they sense the storm disturbing the planet's magnetic field. This one sounds impossible until you remember what birds are built to do. A European starling does not cross a landscape by luck. A migratory songbird does not thread its way across miles of open sky because it has a good memory and a brave heart. It has instruments, not metal instruments, living ones. Inside the eyes of many birds are light-sensitive molecules called cryptochromes. Think of them like tiny blue light compasses, letting the bird read invisible direction in the sky. And in the beak, some birds carry microscopic deposits of magnetite, a natural magnetic mineral. Imagine dust-sized compass needles tucked into living tissue. Research on European starlings and migratory songbirds shows that these systems help birds sense disturbances in Earth's magnetic field. And large low-pressure weather systems can disturb that field. So while you are standing in the yard thinking, it just feels humid, a starling may be receiving a scrambled signal from the planet itself. That is why the body language can look strange, not frantic, not loud, just deeply still. A bird may perch facing one direction, then turn its head sharply, then hold its body rigid, as if the air around it has changed shape. That tiny head turn is not random. That frozen posture is not laziness. It is a living compass checking whether the map is still safe. So when you see several birds stop moving at the same time, do not only watch the clouds, watch their orientation. Watch whether they all seem to face into the same invisible question. Stay with me because this one is going to change the way you watch your yard before bad weather. Number 4. They run 3 storm systems at once inside a brain the size of a pea. That should humble every one of us. An 11-gram chickadee weighs about as much as 2 coins in your palm. Its brain is roughly the size of a pea. And still, that tiny animal can process 3 different atmospheric warnings at the same time. Pressure, sound, magnetism. 3 channels, 3 alarms, 3 different ways of asking the same question. Is the sky still safe? This is not simple instinct. This is layered decision-making inside a body small enough to disappear behind a single maple leaf. And that is why one bird leaving the feeder matters. A chickadee may feel the barometric pressure slip. A titmouse may hear deep infrasound rolling in from far away. A starling may sense the magnetic field wobble under the weight of a weather system. Then suddenly the whole yard shifts. Not because one bird screamed, not because thunder cracked, but because the flock has reached the same answer through different senses. Leave the open places, find cover, save heat, stay alive, and here is the part that changes how you see them. When a bird slips into your cedar hedge before a storm, it may be choosing your yard over the open world. Your fence line, your shrubs, your quiet corner, your presence may become part of the shelter map. You are not just watching wildlife. For a few minutes, your yard becomes a safer room in the storm. But what comes next is something most people find impossible to believe, until it happens in their own yard. Number 5, they feed hard before the storm because their bodies burn fuel terrifyingly fast. This behavior can look greedy. It is not. It is survival math. Before bad weather arrives, many backyard birds start what looks like frantic feeding. Chickadees hammer seeds open, titmice grab and vanish. Cardinals drop to the ground under the feeder and clean up what others spill. To us, it looks like excitement. To them, it is preparation. A small bird does not have a deep fuel tank. It cannot miss meals casually. A chickadee or titmouse can burn through its fat reserves within hours when cold rain, wind, and low temperatures hit at the same time. That means every seed matters, every peanut chip matters. Every black oil sunflower kernel becomes a little battery against the weather. Researchers studying storm preparation behavior in wild birds, along with core metabolic biology, show the same pattern again and again. First the feeding surge, then the retreat. Dense vegetation, tree cavities, downwind structures, the protected side of a porch, a gap inside a tangled shrub no wider than your hand. And this is where the hierarchy shows itself. After the storm, the smallest, fastest burning birds often return first. Chickadees, titmice, the tiny engines. A cardinal can wait longer because it carries more mass. A chickadee cannot negotiate with hunger the same way. So if your feeder explodes with activity before the sky turns ugly, pay attention. They are not celebrating. They are packing their bodies with heat. And if they trust your yard enough to do it there, that is not a small thing. They have placed their survival routine within reach of your window. If you've made it this far, this one is going to make you look at your feeder completely differently. Number 6, the feeding order changes because the storm turns the feeder into a survival checkpoint. Because after a storm, your feeder is not just a feeder. It is a recovery station. A chickadee arriving after heavy rain is not behaving the same way as a cardinal arriving after heavy rain. One is a tiny furnace that has burned through fuel fast. The other is still hungry, but it carries more body mass, more stored energy, more time. That difference changes everything. This is where the hierarchy becomes visible. Who gets in first? Who waits on the fence? Who darts in, steals one seed, and disappears? Who lands boldly and holds the tray? These are not random manners. They are decisions made under pressure. A titmouse may rush in because waiting too long costs heat. A cardinal may dominate space because size still matters. A chickadee may use speed instead of strength, striking the feeder like a spark and vanishing into the nearest evergreen. And here is the hidden part. Your quiet presence can change the calculation. When you stand far enough away, still enough, calm enough, some birds may treat you like a wall between them and danger. Not a friend, not a pet, a shield. A living object that makes hawks, cats, and other threats hesitate. So when the first birds return after the storm, do not rush toward them. Give them distance. Let them decide that your yard is still safe. Sometimes the kindest thing you can offer a wild bird is not food. It is permission to use your silence. I saved this one for last because it is the one that stays with people. Number 7. The storm warning may arrive from farther away than your mind can picture. Because you and the bird are standing in the same yard, under the same sky, besides the same feeder. But you are not living inside the same weather. You see clouds. You feel wind. You hear thunder when it is close enough to shake the windows. The bird is receiving a wider world. It may feel pressure change so slight your body ignores it. It may hear infrasound below 20 hertz, a sound too deep for human ears to catch. It may sense magnetic disturbance in a way that feels less like seeing a compass and more like having the map of the world tremble behind its eyes. That means the bird may know the storm before the neighborhood knows, before the phone alert, before the first drop, before the tree leaves flip silver in the wind. A low-pressure system can send signals ahead of itself long before it arrives. Deep acoustic energy can travel across huge distances. Magnetic cues can shift before the weather has a face. And suddenly, the behavior that looked mysterious becomes almost heartbreaking. The chickadee was not being nervous. The titmouse was not being dramatic. The cardinal was not abandoning your feeder. They were reading a disaster while the yard still looked peaceful. And that should change how you treat the moment. When the birds vanish, do not fill the silence with noise. Do not chase the explanation by stepping into every shrub. Stand still, look carefully. Let the yard speak in the language it was already using. Because sometimes the first storm warning is not a siren. It is a 10-gram bird choosing the dark center of a cedar bush before the sky has told you anything. And once you understand that, the empty feeder does not feel empty anymore. It feels like a message. Have you ever been in your yard when every bird vanished at once before a storm? Did you ever figure out what they sensed before you did? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone, and some of the stories people share about these moments are the ones that stay with me longest. I'll see you in the next.